Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we are back.
Woo! We are back. We are live. It feels really good. People liked us so much. They said,
We come back for week 2. So for the viewers out there, I love seeing how many of you are already logging in and watching. We appreciate you joining on week 2. But we had a great holiday weekend. And Sarah, what did you end up doing? What was your weekend like?
totally here. Hold on 2 seconds. I'm having technical issues here. I'm hearing a double dose of me. So hold on.
See, when we do it live, everybody,
We
you're
do it
seeing how we
live.
figure this out together.
Exactly. I think I might have found myself where I was. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're good.
We're back.
We're back. I'm back. Well, I was here, whatever. I'm sorry. I did not want to have two of me for everybody, but here we are. Okay, Steve, Labor Day weekend. How was yours? I was stalking a little bit online and I saw that you were having a great time at the One Hotel. Tell us about it.
Well, I love the One Hotel. And to Raul Leal, who's the CEO, he's been a guest on my podcast over on the Hospitality Mentor. So I'm a huge fan of his. And he's another Miami boy, so just like me. So I always love supporting the locals. But the One Hotel just is one of my favorites. They do it right every time. I love the sustainability. And I got to show my family a great time. So we all stayed there, grandparents, my kids, my brothers. It was awesome. So you can't beat that Labor Day, spending time with the family.
That's so great. It's so nice. And I mean, and I want to hear, we'll dive into it in a little bit, but how was Miami over Labor Day weekend? Like, was it crazy? Was it that last, like you could tell a lot of people were coming into town to just have a great time before kicking into fall?
There was a lot of great deals to be had across South Beach. So like my brother came down from New York, got a great rate, and then it ramped up very quickly to where a lot of hotels sold out. But if you were looking for good deals, just to keep that in mind for some of the summer travel next year, Labor Day seems to be great on Miami Beach. It was not crazy. It was actually very enjoyable everywhere you went.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I have to say it was a pretty relaxed weekend here in LA. It was just nice to get out, catch up with friends. I always am a big fan of just like also getting caught. I mean, this is the weird work side of me, but I actually enjoy getting caught up on work and the things that are, because we all have that to-do list, by the way, that we like, we have things on it that like we never get to. It's like item number 7, 8, 9, or whatever, however long your to-do list is. And so for me, I sometimes enjoy carving out a little bit of time in the morning on those holidays to like tackle those things that I just don't ever seem to tackle. So that's nice.
We did that Monday afternoon, Labor Day afternoon. We did that. That was nice in our house. Get some things done that had been sitting there staring at us in the face. Those are good days to get those things done.
They're definitely good days. Well, why don't we do a quick roll call and see where everybody is tuning in from? By the way, if you guys are joining us live, definitely put in the comments where you're joining us from. Would love to see. Last week, we had a lot of individuals from all over the world tuning in live, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, so many different countries. It was awesome to see how many people were out there.
Yeah. And what's also really neat is also the timing of this. So we're able to kind of like get everybody in all the different time zones. So love that. If you are joining live, definitely tell us where you are tuning in from. But in the meantime, Steve, should we go ahead and get started on this first topic?
I think that we should jump right in. Let's do it.
I love this. Ooh, some people are hopping in right now. Okay, we got Boston, Miami, Detroit, Motor City. Wow, I'm gonna not sing every single one for you guys moving forward. Miami.
We got Miami. We got the team out there.
I know. This is exciting. Okay. Oh, hey, Jim in Healdsburg, basically Sonoma County. Woohoo, wine country. I need to go back up there. Oh, he's going to give me such a hard time for not going back up there. But, you know.
I love that you guys are watching. Yeah, we got New York. We got a whole crew here. I love this coming through here.
This is so great.
So make sure you're giving your comments in there as we talk, and we'll get to them as we go through our stories.
London, Marco Island. Oh, this is so great. Yeah, definitely. Every show, let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to hear. It's cool to see. It reminds us hospitality is a very small world. So Steve, I know that I almost think that you should kind of kick this off because this is something that you wrote about in your newsletter.
Yep.
And it's pretty interesting as far as these hotel brands that are kind of getting into this sort of outdoor hospitality, aka glamping.
Yeah, and we're starting to see it more and more now. So you and I are lucky that
Mhm.
we get to talk to so many people in travel. And some of the behind the scene talks from CEOs are that they are focusing more on the experiences people are having versus kind
Yeah.
of the places of normal hotels. So they're getting involved in outdoor hospitality. So what is that? You might have heard of glamping, which is luxurious
Love
camping.
that. Mhm.
There's companies like Starwood that is investing in motels that are close to national parks and making those upscale so that you
Mhm.
can stay in these places close to the outdoors. You got KSL that invested in Under Canvas, which is these beautiful tents that are right on these pieces of beautiful land and beautiful landscapes everywhere. And you can kind of live this life where you disconnect a little bit, reconnect with nature, and really enjoy the company that you're having, but also get some cool Instagram pics, some cool TikTok
Yes.
videos from doing it, dress up a little bit in
Love.
some, outfits that maybe you can play with. So it's really interesting. And we're exploring that a lot too down here in Miami now with our vacation rental company about
Mhm.
doing it on a farm. And so we're talking to people who
Oh.
are making tents and wellness and sustainability and making a little micro resort on a farm in Miami. So
Wait. Where are these
yeah,
farms in Miami? I'm sorry. I
yes,
think
it's all
others
right.
will agree with me. When I think Miami, I don't think farm.
Yeah, so just south of Miami, 45 minutes, you have a place called the Redlands. And the
Okay.
Redlands and Homestead is where people ride horses, but it's really one of the biggest agricultural areas in the country. And so we're looking at doing that. But I started hearing all these CEOs talking about it. I said, all right, we're on to something
Okay.
here before we even knew. So it's interesting to see. But you all should check out some of these companies out there
Yeah.
because my wife and I'm not a camper, but if I could do it in a place that's decorated by Restoration Hardware and some nice furniture inside, I would do it.
Oh my gosh, we're definitely gonna have to talk about that in a minute. But I do love this notion of glamping, and I have to say, wow, it's been 2 years now in Utah near Escalante.
Mhm.
It is where in Bryce Canyon. Those that might know, I did basically a sort of like glamping type experience with Wanderlust, and it was so cool
Mhm.
because we basically had tents. The tents were put because your girl is not going to be putting up a tent. Let me just tell you this. Like the hotel part of me just runs through and
Mhm.
through. It's okay, Steve. You can laugh at that. Okay.
I get it. I'm fancy too. I don't wanna put up the tent.
But I will say this is that what they had is that they had the most luxurious beds. And I remember like getting into the bed and being like, this feels like a hotel, but I'm in a tent. And it definitely took a little bit of getting used to hearing all the noises of nature, as we
Mhm.
like to say. But it was such a cool experience. So I think it's great to see these bigger hotel brands diving into it. And it's also just indicative of just hotel brands are realizing that we just have to they have to diversify their
Yes.
portfolios. Travelers want different things. You're going to be tapping into different markets. And if we learned anything from this 2020, it's good to have a diversified portfolio because wherever the consumer tends to lean, then you can hopefully have your fingers in that part of the market.
No, it's true. And also another part is the business part of it is that it costs less to make these tents and these glamping sites, and you can charge almost double the money of a typical hotel room. So it all kind of works out for the business side, for the travelers and guests. But I see that Jim Morris was talking about it's big in wine country. Glamping is a big thing.
Yeah.
And Angela's saying that she represented collective retreats in Colorado in
Oh, very
2020, which is
cool.
another one. So it's great to see that you all are involved out there on it. And if you have some cool companies that maybe we didn't mention them in the comments and
Yeah.
we'll check them out.
Definitely would love to go ahead and support those. Well, moving on to our next topic, and I think that this is kind of apropos. Look at me using fancy words.
Mm.
Uh, After Labor Day, so the article came out, and it's basically showing that U.S. hotel hiring has picked up certainly in the last month. It's not yet at pre-COVID employment levels, but it's definitely done better. And to kind of really dig in on these sort of stats. Basically, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed on Friday that hotels have added roughly 8,600 jobs in August, and this is up from the revised 5,400 jobs that were added in July. So that's definitely great. And then meanwhile, the broader leisure and hospitality category, which also includes hotels, added about 40,000 positions. So, and that, to give you guys an idea as far as like labor and job statistics, that actually represents about 21% of the total jobs created in the US last month. So that's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but still a little scary that it's still way below pre-pandemic levels. And so I know for the listeners out there that are working in hotels and viewers, chime in. Is your hotel still short-staffed or your restaurant still short-staffed? Because I know when we visit, at least myself this weekend, and talking that, man, they're working still 6-7 days, not getting days off, working
100%.
every holiday.
Yeah.
But I love seeing people come back in because it is a great industry. We just have to figure out the right ways of doing it.
So, well, the jobs are out there, but it's filling them. And I think that that's a really, really, I mean, we're still continuing to see that. And it's interesting because it almost doesn't even matter the market. Actually, it doesn't matter the market. We can say whether it's Miami, Los Angeles, New York, even smaller cities as well too. It's still this in Europe, in parts of the Middle East as well. I mean, people are definitely still, it's totally a global thing. So I always like to bring that up as a reminder, because I know all too often people will try to say, oh, it's this or that, or, or maybe blame it on other factors where it's like, well, wait a second. Or like they blame it on national factors when it's like, well, it's like a global sort of issue. So it's this interesting time. And I always kind of question, I mean, I do have a couple of thoughts on this, and I think we're going to have to talk about it in a future episode, like totally dive in.
Yeah.
But what are
best practices?
Yeah. Best practices. What are you seeing are ways to sort of attract and retain talent?
So there are some hotel companies doing it really well.
Yeah.
And the ones I see doing it well are offering a couple of things. One is true flexibility, not saying, oh, we have a flexible schedule and they're not giving any days off. It is where you don't have to sweat. Like I was talking to a director who's sweating, having to ask to go to a friend's wedding. Like that shouldn't be the case, right?
Yep.
You should be able to, it's a big deal in your life. You should go, and the hotel or the company should say, go for it. So true flexibility there. The other is being able to learn and develop in multiple areas of a hotel or restaurant, because the generation coming up doesn't want to stay in a role for 2 years and learn that role for 2 years. So I think like kind of those manager and training positions where you can kind of sign up and go through the hotel and learn how to be a great concierge like you, and then go be in front desk and then be a server and be a bartender. I think those are the things that will be important, is development and then pay. So the pay shot up, especially in my area of the country, and now starting to level down a little bit. So all of a sudden people are like, why would I go do that job when I can make the same money online somewhere and flipping things and doing stuff where I control my schedule? So it's interesting. It's going to be pay, flexibility, and able to develop. I think it's kind of like that triangle that will make sure people are coming back consistently.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the quick note on flexibility, and then I have a couple of thoughts on as far as training, but I don't know about you. I mean, I remember times that I think the number of events in my life that I missed going to because I felt like I couldn't ask off, or I could ask off, but I was so low on the totem pole that it didn't really matter because so-and-so only works Monday through Friday morning shifts. And it's like, okay, well, I guess like nobody would be flexible enough. And that changed over time. And I'm talking about like within the last like 18 years or so. And it definitely changed. And then also as one gets older too, you can demand things in a different way. But and that was always so tough. But it was also kind of at that time, it was just like, well, that's just what's expected. So now we're living in a very different time where it's like, okay, we need to come at this with being far more reasonable and working together as a team. So if somebody needs to take off for something that's important, you've got a team member coming in and helping and supporting them.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely making sure that that's real, as you just said. But another aspect that I think that's really important, and those that do, is training.
Yes.
And the reason why training is, obviously, it's great because then individuals know how to do their job, but training also helps create a sense of like you're part of something bigger than yourself and your role. Like you understand the ethos of the company that you're working for. I don't know if you have any memories of like any of the different properties that you worked at, but my first property I worked at was a Four Seasons, and I was young. I mean, I was probably 18 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
18 and a half, where we still counted half, where we still counted half years. I mean, if it weren't for the training, like that set the tone for my entire hospitality experience. Everything from like learning to like step to the side, when a guest is walking down a hallway, to it did just anything, verbiage, how
Yep.
you smile when you greet people, how close they are to you. So if I didn't have that training, I think I would have just approached the job like it's just a whatever job. But because they took it so seriously, I was like, oh, this is a big deal. So I don't
Yes.
know. That's how I felt.
Oh, for sure. I love learning that. I worked at one, actually, I see Antonio Racias just chimed in here. I worked with Antonio Racias at 2 different hotels, but one of them was the Mandarin Oriental here in Miami. So 5-star, 5-diamond property.
Mhm.
And you really learn there how to take care of the guests, but also how to improve yourself and how that applied to the rest of your life, just by all the things that we learned about being courteous and having empathy and listening. And I apply that to my life now, and I still do. So I don't know if you're going through the supermarket ever and you're actually actively helping people and like holding doors open and they look at you a little weird.
What are you talking about?
I do it all the time. And they're like, what's going on here? It's just built in us now. So I love that training. And there's some companies that are cutting back on it, which is sad to see. I think they should really make that a big focus. So
I mean,
it's true.
I get it. It's definitely, it costs money, and everybody is looking to cut corners, and where can they cut? But I do feel like that is a worthwhile investment. And for those that are like, oh, but we're just going to train people for them to quit and then have to train again. Well, if you train them right the first time, maybe they don't quit. So I don't know. But
I like it.
that was
I think that's the quote. That's the quote right there. Clip it.
I mean, I'm just saying. Wow, I just snapped myself. Okay, cool. We can definitely tell it's early in the morning here in Los Angeles. So there were actually a couple of questions. And by the way, just a reminder, if you are joining in and you've got questions for us, definitely shoot them live, put us in the hot seat. See what we have to say if you've got a question about something that we're talking about. Otherwise, we always try to do our best to answer them in the next episode. So we had a couple from last week. And this was interesting. This was about automation. So Steve, I want to hear you chime in on this first. How are they making hotels more automated with the checking in and such? What are some of the key trends in automation? I don't know if you've seen any.
Well, I would say like this. I think that airlines are way ahead of the hotels, and vacation rental companies are now leading the way in technology. Because again, listeners and viewers, I work in both worlds of vacation rental and hotel. And I think the vacation rental world has allowed people to bypass that long front desk line. They're able to check in when they need to check in. They're able to text to get services for people. And hotels are now catching up to that. I've seen a couple, like at Yotel, they do a good job where you can check in without someone helping you. You can get to your room. But I think there's still a lot more ways to go in automation. And so I would like to see people embrace that more. But it's hard because a lot of the hotels use these old systems that don't connect to stuff, right? I'm sure many of the listeners out there, you're probably going to go back to your front desk or your restaurant, and it's these same systems we all use. We won't call them out, but they're a little antique and they don't connect as much. And the other industries are adopting those. So I've seen a lot of automation, but it's they need to invest a little bit more. I think that's what people want, to create their own experience, not have to wait around.
Totally. Well, and it's again, when it comes to automation, because I know people get really, they're so nervous when we talk about technology and hospitality. Oh, it's going to take away the people. And in fact, I did kind of bring this up yesterday in my story on Instagram. But there was an article that came out in Entrepreneur magazine that was basically talking about how they expect within the next 10 years that up to 65% of hospitality jobs will be taken over by robots. That's a steep number. I don't like it's good. We're going to be living in the Jetsons pretty soon. But I mean, it could happen, sure. But oh, you know what? Somebody brought up an interesting point. What about cleanup? Are these robots going to be able to clean up?
Yeah. So listen, I'm laughing because I am a big fan of robots. So I am. I used to own a staffing company that supplied hospitality employees.
All right.
And they would commit and they would say, we're going to show up, and then no call, no show. Right. Ooh. So I'm not saying replace everybody, but what I would like to see, and Royal Caribbean does this, they have a maker shaker robot where they have a robotic bartender. I didn't love the way they did it there, but I think it could be support staff. Right. So I can spend more time with the bartender, getting to know them and about the place I'm at and getting some tips while the drink is being shaken, and they can finish it off with their final touches, or barista with coffee. I talk to coffee company owners that walk into hotels. They're like, that barista's making my coffee the wrong way. That's why the guests are complaining about my coffee.
Well, then what are you going to do? Tell the robot to make it differently?
Yeah, you could program it. So like there's a company called Blank Street Coffee in New York, and they spent $50,000 on their espresso machines. So not a true robot, but a really expensive espresso machine that makes it the right way each time. And then the barista adds their little touch of love at the end to add that hospitality.
I don't know. It makes me laugh. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I've always been a huge avid fan of technology, and I feel like anything that we can add to sort of ease our day-to-day life and or also just reflect how we live. We all live with our phone on us. This is what we're doing. Here it is.
Yes.
So I get it. Like, it's definitely not something that we should shy away from, but it's how to do it to add to the guest experience, which I think will always be
not make it harder. I don't want to make it harder.
I know. Okay. So I want to be mindful of the time here, but we have to talk about this topic. Okay. Because this came out in the news like within the past week. And I mean, you've got kids, so I want to hear about this. So an airline actually in Europe is finally creating an adults only section on their airplane. Now, I actually did a video on this earlier this year. There was rumors going on. Oh, should there be adults only flights? And so that obviously proves to be a bit more challenging, but this actual airline is creating an adults only section on the plane. So would love to hear your thoughts on this.
All right. So I do have two beautiful kids, 5 and 7. And when I travel with them, it can be a little scary. They're a little older now, so it's easier.
Yeah.
But if I'm not with them, I probably would pay up. But here's what I will say. I think that there's some adults that behave much worse than kids on airlines.
Yes.
And what I would love to see instead is just like Airbnb or Uber does. I wish in hotels and airlines could rank and rate the people that they're serving. I think that people would behave a lot nicer and a lot better. Right. I'm sure you wouldn't get screamed at your concierge desk as much when you were working there if you were able to rate that guest and say, oh, Mr. Turk misbehaving today, you get a 1 star. Right. And and if you don't keep a certain rating, you can't travel on that plane or go to that hotel.
Oh my God.
That's what I would like to see.
So a rating system on guests, kind of like what we're seeing with like Uber,
Airbnb. Yeah.
Airbnb. Exactly.
You get to rate each other both ways. Right. So
I mean, it's true. It's true. I think that
maybe it'll work, but I've seen a lot of adults out of control.
I agree with you on that. My favorite, so my thing is that whenever I see any of these things online, I go straight to the comment section because I love to see what people write about these things. And somebody was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, adults only section. Then I'll just straight up light a cigarette in the smoking only section. Yeah, for those that are not old enough, there used to be smoking sections on planes.
Yeah.
I barely remember that. Let me just put it like that. I was certainly not old enough to smoke.
We were kids. We were young kids when they were smoking on those
Totally.
airplanes.
But
what do you think? You like, because you're on the opposite of me. You don't have kids, so what
I
would?
don't have no, but I love kids. So
Right.
it doesn't bother me like that type. It's like I uh kids are going to be kids, and it's I mean, so long as there's a parent there actually trying. When the
Yes.
parents aren't trying and like kids are just going crazy, it's like, okay, like, hello, you are in public.
Yes.
I have definitely noticed this with it to parents of kids. I was like, oh, their sensitivity to volume and sound has gone down.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, if you're not around kids, you're not necessarily used to a lot of extra noise around,
That's true.
depending on what you do. So, but no, and adults only, I mean, come on, like it is what it is. It's a flight. My whole thing, I am like the most chill air, passenger when it comes to planes, because it's like it's only a temporary amount of time. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like you make the best of it. Obviously, if somebody's traveling with a child, most likely they want to make it. They don't want there to be chaos happening. So I don't know. I think it's definitely. I think the idea of an adults only section, it's more of a marketing thing, I think, than anything
Yeah,
else.
it's
Like
good for some stories. They might make some extra bucks from people.
we're
It might
talking
cause
about.
more problems. Like, hey, that baby's screaming back there. Get that
Yeah.
baby to quiet down. I paid my extra 75. But I see Grisette Rodriguez agreeing with me.
Yeah.
We're gonna create we need some entrepreneurs out there to create a rating system for the guests.
Oh my God, I love that you're into that. I better get a perfect score because I am that person.
Yeah, you would be perfect. I think you would be great. But there's some out of control people out there.
You got to be conscientious. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and start our real-time recap segment. So for those that maybe missed last week, what we're doing is every week we're doing a sort of recap on an interesting hospitality moment that we experienced this past week. So be it hopefully a really great experience, but it might not have been a great experience. So Steve, you were out in the field this week. What you see?
I was, and I will give it this: the one hotel didn't know that I was staying there. I didn't call any of my friends for a hookup or those things, and we
You
went for lunch on a rainy afternoon in Miami. Unfortunately, it was raining one of the days,
Mhm.
and the Habitat restaurant at the one hotel did a phenomenal job. I was there with little kids, friends, family, a table of 9, just walking in with no reservation, and did an awesome job. And the
Table of how
restaurant
many?
chef,
9, did you?
9,
You
with
one
no
of them.
reservation, one of them on a rainy afternoon, did a phenomenal job. From the hostess to the server
Great.
Julio to the chef who came out and welcomed our table after we ate to check on us, which I thought was a great touch. I even wrote a little article about him just to give him a shout out because I thought it was so nice. So it just shows you those little things go a long way, especially when you get the right training and you know what you're doing.
Totally. Well, similarly, right before the weekend, I actually got to stay at a Kimpton property right here in West Hollywood, the Lapeer Hotel.
It looked really
And
nice.
yeah, really
Mhm.
great. And granted, it was kind of a work experience for me, but I never go in with the expectation that people know who I am or why I'm there or staying there, especially if it's like something that's been set up by like a PR agency or a third
Right.
party company. But I will say I was really impressed with the staff. It was mellow, it was cool. Nobody knew what we were doing, but we were just kind of like to the side. We were like, getting some video and some photos, but everybody came up and they were like super helpful. And it was just really, I think the big takeaway is that, wow, everybody that works here is happy that they're here. Like they like
Yes.
working here. I mean, obviously everybody has ups and downs,
Mhm.
everybody has moments where they're like, oh, I don't want to be here at my job.
Yes.
But in general, you could just tell that people were happy that they worked there and they were genuinely helpful as well. So
Yeah, you can feel that when you walk in. You can feel that on the ambiance, right?
Totally. So, I mean, that's a really good reminder that, your employees really set the tone for the guest experience, that they go above and beyond in a genuine way when they feel good and supported, that in the environment that they work in. And absolutely, as a guest, people feel that. I know I do, for sure.
No, I think you hit it right on the head, and great job to those 2 hotels this week.
Yeah, I know. Maybe your hotel can be mentioned next time.
Yeah, now just give us a call.
Exactly, right? Okay, well, our hospitality quote segment here. We've got a quote. Again, we started this off last week. I love that we've got this quote. Do you want to go ahead and read the quote, Steve? If it's at your fingertips?
Absolutely, and I think it's a good mention of what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Courteous treatment will make a customer a walking advertisement. And we just said that. We just talked about these 2 great hotels. And so this quote, I think, goes perfect with the stories of this week. And it is true. I mean, how do you feel about this when you see this?
Oh, so I always tell people that your best marketing are your guests that are currently in your property, because they're going to go back. They're going to talk about it on social media. Yes, they might go to different sites, whether it's like a TripAdvisor or Yelp or whatever, and maybe they might actually go that far as to leave an actual review. But the best reviews are people sharing their experiences on social media, and whether it's Facebook, whatever, because it's coming from a genuine place. And people tap into that, and then their friends, their family see, and then they go ahead and they make their decisions based off of that. So I always say that most of people's marketing efforts when it comes to hospitality should be the guest experience for those that are right there, as opposed to getting in new random people, which obviously you want more people, but your biggest champions are the ones that are currently staying at your property.
I think that's a fantastic way to say it, and a good place to wrap up the show today on that quote. I love that quote.
Yeah, me too. No, this is a really good quote, and it's just a good reminder of what we've got in front of us is always so important. So this has been a really great episode. We've got a couple of little announcements, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Big announcement. Next Monday, by the way. So if you've been tuning in, you probably have seen the show on Mondays. And next Monday, they actually have the founder of Hotel Tonight, Sam Shank. He is going to be joining that Monday crew. By the way, I am so jealous. I have so many questions for him. So
me too.
I'm probably going to have to join in live and ask my questions like online.
Yeah, we'll submit our questions over and over again.
Totally. But this is going to be a really good episode. So definitely, you guys, if you can join in on that. I know a lot of us have probably a lot of questions for Sam. So that's really going to be really a really great episode. But yeah, no, this has been great. And I also want to say, by the way, a quick shout out to our producer in the back, Claire. Thanks so much. By the way, Steve and I are not the only ones doing this. We do have a team behind us. So without them, they wouldn't make us look so fabulous.
Yeah. Shout out to Claire. Good job.
Thank you, Claire. So with that, I think that wraps today's episode, but super excited. Join us next week. Send us your questions or any interesting topics, and we'll be sure to cover them next week or the week after.
Yeah. Have a fabulous week, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.